So today's Chips and Grits, we're going to talk about and share the things that five of us saw when we went to the Albany, Oregon wood turning. Um, it was a good time, and we thought we would get together and share some of the things that we thought might be interesting to the rest of the club. So, welcome all of you who have joined here and all of you who will watch this later um, on the computer link that we put up. And remember that we will move along fairly quickly. Target is to last right about an hour. And so we will get started, and I will open it up and see who wants to go first, if anybody is primed and ready.
I think you should.
You think I should?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
go for it.
All right. Well, I went through and took pictures of the instant gallery. And I can show those now or we can show those later. The other thing is, though, we have some pictures from the demo. Let's see if I can do this right. That doesn't look right. Let's go here. Come on, Bruce, you know how to do this.
Well, those watching the recording are absolutely fascinated right now.
Yeah, I know you are. And the heck of it is, I went out and now I can't get back in. There we go.
Well, while you're finding them, I would just say that anybody that wants to have a good time should plan on going to a symposium in the near future because we had a great time while we were there. And as you'll see, we learned a lot.
Okay. This is pictures. Interesting demo. You'll see more about this shape later, but the significance of this one is the rounded bottom, and that has been hollowed out. So when you look at it from the end, you see the very small diameter on top? That's what he hollowed out the inside through. So the top ends up looking like this. Bottom has no feet, just a round bottom and a natural edge on the sides. So that was quite interesting to see.
Bruce, who did
Dan?
this turning?
Is that Dan or Rudy?
No, not Rudy.
No, that was
Dan Tilden.
Yeah, the younger guy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's Dan Tilden.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But and he just was up there talking away and turning, and he gave himself a little extra margin. That's the size of that hole. And it's about double the size of one that was there that he had done. But when you get it done in 90 minutes, he decided, I'll cut myself a little bit of a break. And so that's how he took on that one. Let's see. Oh, we occasionally,
That's
from
also
time to
Tilden.
time, don't get carried away, Bruce, have burls and wonder what to do with them. There we go. And this was an interesting treatment. It had an open space here, but he took the burl, turned this outside area, and then left the volcano-shaped item in the middle, and then hollowed out the inside. Made a very interesting bowl when you got done?
Someone brought this or something similar to Tuesday breakfast recently. Who brought that?
I believe that was me.
Yeah, that was Chuck.
All right.
Yeah, I did it out of mesquite. Similar, but much smaller.
Was it as easy to turn as what it looked, Chuck?
No, it was probably one of the hardest turnings I've ever done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was very, very difficult. Especially worried about cutting my finger off with the edge of the bowl. Plus the wood was super hard.
While you mentioned that thing about attacking fingers, one of the notes that I made from one of the demonstrators said he takes a piece of painter's tape, folds it over so there's about an inch of it sealed together, and then he sticks that to his wrist. And the reason he does that is because as he's turning, if the edge of the bowl comes around and starts to catch that paper and goes tick, 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 he knows he's getting close. It's time to back up a little bit.
Great idea.
Yeah, I can't remember who that was that did that, but yeah.
All right, there we go.
Hey, Bruce, can you go to full screen on that?
The answer should be yes.
Oh, okay.
I can zoom it,
But you can't get rid of your
but
menu
I
at the
can't
top.
get rid of it. Oh. Now I know what you're saying. Why can't I?
Is that your 3-dot menu?
I'm not sure I could see my fingers getting in there to sand those cutting rings out of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
He did not either, right? Well, let's see what Optimize for Video Sharing does. That didn't do it. Ken, you got any ideas?
Yeah, you're
Is it
showing
on the-
this in your Google Photos. Just
Yes.
highlight or go to full screen on that Google Photos part. We can see the square up at the right for full screen. Go up to top right. I don't know.
There.
Yeah, see if that'll help.
It does not.
Okay,
about
well,
the
you
three-
have to have the photos running in the background before you try to share it.
Mm.
So maybe you need to
I did
go
that.
back
I
in
thought.
and make it full screen before you share it in Zoom.
Right. Now I got to figure out where I am and
We're right back where we were.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to get.
While Bruce is playing with his computer, one of the things I thought that was very interesting at the symposium was between each one of the demonstrations, you were able to talk to the demonstrator personally, one-on-one. Every one of them was very nice, friendly, easy to talk to. And you could learn a lot from them just by talking to them other than their demonstration. I thought the personal touch was pretty good. I don't know how everybody else felt, but I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah,
Well,
agreed.
Yeah, the one thing that was different from like when we went to the ones in Provo was the fact that there was at least a half hour between all the demos, where on the other ones, they just kind of go, just 10, 15-minute break. Well, now you had more time to talk to the demonstrators or go spend money with the vendors.
Well, I got out of it and I went back, and I don't see how to go to full screen here either.
Well, let's just move on.
Aha,
Yeah, that's fine.
good point. I just figured out how to do it. Well, it jumped a bunch.
There you go.
Oh, I went to slideshow. Okay, you can see that one?
Yeah, that looks.
Now it's automatically changing on me. Interesting tool the guy used. Let's see here.
You got a pause button at the bottom there, Bruce. Bottom left.
Got
Yeah,
it.
there you go. Yeah. And then you can just,
Now
then go manually.
Thank you.
Okay.
We all get by with a little help from our friends.
Yeah.
So we had talked about that one. Interesting tool shot.
Yeah, that's my photo of a tool that Trent used, and he's got two different grinds on it, and the grind on the left part of the gouge is for going down the side, and then he's able to just seamlessly transition to a grind for the bottom. So instead of using two different tools, he just ground one tool to serve two purposes.
We had a demonstrator recently for an IRD that also used that same technique with two different angles on the two different sides of the tool. I can't remember who that was, but he used it one part of it for the inside of a bowl and the other part for the outside. Who was this artist again?
Yeah.
This was Trent Bosch.
Okay, it could have been Trent when he did our IRD.
Yeah, I can talk about this one, Bruce. This is a woman by the name of Charlie something or other. She had a piece that was awarded third place in People's Choice. This was not it, but the reason I took this picture is it really shows her technique for coloring. She uses watercolors, and so that's why she was able to get such gradations in the color. She also turns on basswood, and the other thing that she does, and Ken, I talked to you guys about this, and Ken Nelson, I have a piece for you to try. She uses melamine edging with no adhesive on, right? And I think it's a 50th of an inch thick, and it's a thermoplastic, so it doesn't melt. It just heats up and kind of disintegrates. But because it's so fine, it gets into those grooves, and she's able to blacken them very easily. But I like the idea of the watercolor. I like the idea of the melamine. The basswood, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. She said that she prevented chip out by coating, after she turned the shape, she coated it in beeswax. And then when she beaded it, it removed the beeswax and created the bead, and did not leave beeswax on the vessel itself.
Chuck, I'm glad you pointed out the gradation of the color there because I might have missed that. That's something, as you point out, we can't do with using the India ink pens that we
Right.
normally do here. So that's interesting to see another technique for coloring, the
Yeah.
beaded
Yeah.
Bascolusion stuff. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
My question is, what kind of finish did she put on afterwards? Because wouldn't the beeswax prevent some things to sticking to it as far as a
No,
final finish?
I had that same question for her, Kathy, and basically she said that when she cut the beads, that removed the beeswax, but it made the wood not chip out because it gave it some stability. I don't know. It's an interesting technique.
So the
And then,
beeswax ends up being something like an indicator about how far to go in for the bead, huh?
yeah, I think that's probably part of it too, Bruce. And I complimented her, and I think there's going to be a detailed picture coming up about the top where she did the burning at the top to look like braiding. I could say, "Oh, I love this. It's a different finish," and she says, "No, it's not a different finish at all. It's just the way the burning caused the basswood to get shiny, and maybe that's a part of the beeswax as well. But the top rim was shiny, whereas the rest of it was flat."
Chuck, do you know if she used a solid beeswax or a beeswax paste wax?
She used, I believe it was just a stick of beeswax.
The solid. So that would make
Yeah,
sense to me that
yeah,
that's why it wouldn't leave residual behind it because it wouldn't migrate into the cells so
right.
much.
Yeah, sat on the surface.
Oh,
She
interesting
was a very
technique.
talented lady.
Oh yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah. By the way, I took a picture of because there's another piece of hers coming up that I gave Bruce to put in.
Right.
I took a picture of her tag that had all her information on her
Oh, good for
email and everything.
you. Oh, good. Yeah, that's another one of her pieces with that. I think those of us who have done the Basque illusions have done the double braiding at the top. She did a triple, which I can't really wrap my head around. I showed it to Phil Brown, and he said he was going to try it, and he got back to me and says, "I don't know if I could do that. It is so complex to do the triple." And then, of course, her shading, that's all burned shading at the top.
That is phenomenal.
It really is. It really looks like it's braided. Very three-dimensional.
It looks to me like she had to have used a skew wood burning tip and done each of those as an individual line.
Yep.
And boy, what patience that takes.
Yeah. Yeah. And she said she did it freehand. In terms of, she didn't draw it out in pencil. She just did it with burning it. I guess she said she'd
Very
done it so
talented
many.
lady then.
Yeah, she had done it so many times. She didn't have to do the drawing it in pencil.
And she took third place, as I recall, in the People's Choice Award.
Yes. And did anybody take a picture of that piece?
The one you broke, Chuck?
No, not that one. The flower.
Yeah, the one that he almost dropped the other one on top of.
Yeah, that. Okay. Yeah.
No, I didn't get a picture of that. Well, I don't think I did.
I wasn't there. I've got pictures of the instant gallery, but I don't know if I got it either.
No, I don't have it.
Yeah, there you go. There's the detail. Is that incredible?
That is incredible. That's remarkable. She has very good control and talent. I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
Did you get an indication of how many divisions there were going around that?
No, I didn't.
You know,
But
that's
I
I
have
got
a
would say
picture of it, but I don't know if you
hundreds.
can see it.
it's got to be 140, 160, I would think.
Yeah, I almost think
Uh,
it has to be more than that, but it's hard to
Really?
say.
Okay. It's incredible. And basswood. That's the part that blows me away.
Yeah, and by the way, I checked my photographs. The information I've got is from a different person.
Oh, okay.
This is a picture of that one that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, there you go. The top of it, yeah.
It's amazing edge treatment.
He did the edge first and then turned the dish.
Oh my gosh, really?
He took a round cylindrical log, marked it out evenly, although he said he drove the guy that taught him this nuts because sometimes he wouldn't make it even. And then chucked it sideways and proceeded to turn the dish.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought this was one of the more interesting things, and I definitely want to try this one. So yeah, you turn it as a log, you beat the log, and then turn it 90 degrees, and then turn the bowl.
That's brilliant.
So those scallops are beads that he had turned before he made the bowl shape?
Yep.
So he put it
That's
between
interesting.
centers. Yeah, put it between centers, turned it, and then flipped it.
And,
Interesting technique.
and then
Yeah.
basically turned the propeller.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, this is the one that I added in. And this is the one I've got all the information on of the person's name and email and phone number. But this was the top sphere was basically two burl caps held apart so it looked like a cave, and then poured with the acrylic, and then turned into a sphere. And it was on a bearing on top of the little base, and then sitting on top of the other piece, which again was two burl caps to get that fantastic edge between the blue acrylic.
Now, Gary, that's interesting because I think when I saw it, the flat side was sitting on the bearing.
No, I never saw it that way.
It works either way, but
Yeah, because
Even though
the bearing is made exactly, or I should say the piece was made to fit the bearing perfectly.
yeah, the balls were exposed.
Yeah. But it's a good idea. I know I've got a couple really thin burl caps, and when I get to it,
I can't see any evidence of a bearing in this picture. Where is the bearing located?
okay, you see the river. Yeah, it's right in there.
So it's encased within that lower
Base.
ring of wood?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So even though the sign said "Do not touch," you couldn't really appreciate this unless you touched it. And it spun incredibly easily.
Yeah. And I don't remember if the bottom one. Oh, okay. Now there's a good picture of that. He called it a twice turned bowl. That's how you can see the beads on the outside of the log, and then turn it 90 degrees and then turn the rest of the piece.
Mm. Why did I think of that?
Yeah, a lot of us thought the same thing. A little bit of a hell of a lot of work doing the beading just to have a scalloped edge.
Right.
Chuck, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, it's the key part of this. This again is Trent Bosch. He would start forming, and obviously sticking with the golden ratio. And so he would use his golden ratio calipers to develop the top, where it's going to stick out the most and where the bottom should be. And so, yeah, that's a better picture. He would draw on the part that he hadn't turned yet to make sure that when he did the sides, because this is as far as he went before he started hollowing it. So he wanted to make sure that the side was complete before he started hollowing it. And what you see there is what he projects to be the finished shape. And then that little dash, that is the inside bottom. So I thought this was just a really cool technique to plan your finished vessel and to ensure that the shape you turn on the outside is going to be what you want it to be before you start hollowing. Because once you start hollowing, you're kind of committed to the outside shape. That was
I
the
was
purpose of
impressed
that
too,
picture.
because when he started hollowing, he hollowed it out. He'd measure, and then he'd mark actually on the outside edge of what I thought was finished, where the bottom was. So when he took it off and turned the bottom off, he knew where exactly
Mhm.
the hollowing stopped on the inside. And he said, it doesn't really matter because I got to clean that area up anyhow. I'll just turn that mark off.
Right. And the way he does his hollowing is different than the way Dan Tilden does his hollowing. And there might be a picture in here
There
of
is. It's coming up, I
of the
think.
of the steps he uses.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is his golden ratio. He was selling these for $40, I think.
For those who are interested, I have plans to make your own golden section gauge. It just uses some flat bar stock, and you end up with the same kind of tool that he's showing here. I made one and it works well. If anybody's interested, I can send them the information.
Yeah, Ken, this is Gary. I would be interested in that.
Okay, I'll send this to you, Gary.
Oh, there we
Ken
go.
Nelson
Yeah,
would be too.
yeah.
Say again, somebody else?
Ken,
Yeah, Ken Nelson would be too.
Okay.
if you guys could be patient when I get back, I will make them for you. I laser cut them out of MDF.
That would be even
So-
better than this. This is
Yes.
using metal bar stock,
Um,
flat bar stock, but your accuracy would be much better laser cutting these than what I
yeah,
have.
yeah. I made it.
Nonetheless, I've used it a couple times, and it still gets you approximately where you want to be, but you still
Oh,
have to
sure.
adjust for your shape and
Yeah.
what you're trying to achieve. But it does get you close.
Yeah. The key thing about this drawing, again, this is different than what Dan Tilden does. As you can see, he bores. You can see that number one. That's not a dash. That's number one right above the two. the first thing he does is he bores. He had a hollow point drill that you blow air through the center of that drill, and so he was able to just keep pushing that drill in and he had a piece of tape on that drill that aligned with that dash that you saw on the actual piece of wood. He drilled that. Then he goes in with his hollowing tools, and number two was using his hollowing tool, and he never had to remeasure how deep he was because of the fact that when he did number two, he only would go as far as the original drill hole was. And then 3 and 4, same thing. He would just go down as far as number 2 went. But then 5 and 6 is where he used the tool that you're going to see. I think it's a previous slide of his video technique for this. It was, Bruce, I'll never forget, you had seen this before.
Yes.
And I kept going, oh, this is incredible. And you kept going, wait, it gets better. It gets better. And so what he did, the hand-drawn lines are actually the lines on his video monitor. And the camera is fixed to the tool. So as he moves the tool, the camera moves with it. And that little, so you can see he copied the shape of the tool, and then that margin, that C type line, that is the margin. So when that line aligns with the outside of the bowl, he has his desired thickness. I think my jaw hit my chest when I watched him do this. It was so amazing to see.
For those who
Of course,
might
he-
remember, Larry O'Brien demonstrated this for the club back in September 2022. Well, if there's enough interest, we could maybe have him do that again using the camera hollowing system.
Well,
He did do that.
several of us talked about we need to have some investigative work done. Trent, you can buy his system for a mere, what is it, $1,700?
Yeah, if you got every single part. Yeah.
Larry built one, obviously less expensive than that. And several of us in the club have got a device that takes you maybe 85% of the way there using a laser pointer. But if we put our heads together, the guess is we might be able to come up with a much more economical system to be able to do the same thing. Now, I just got back Tuesday night from Palm Springs. And this morning I tried what I have is, I guess the easiest way to call it is a borescope attachment for your phone. And I think I might be able to adapt that. Now, that would be an expensive approach because that thing's about $20.
Ooh.
So there's some work that needs to be done to prove proof of concept.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be worth a little investigation by several of us to see what we can come up with and offer to the club.
Well, this was a very effective method.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it was just very interesting to be able to see exactly where your tool was inside. Your wall thickness is consistent, and it was, like you said, Chuck, an aha moment.
Yeah.
And it is nice because it is a large screen. Now, Larry had a large screen as well. So we need to understand what he did and what we'd be able to do along that line as well.
Yeah, Larry used, I think it was just a TV monitor
Mm-hmm.
And he had bought a camera through Amazon, I think, and mounted it and recreated what Trent has created here. And it seemed to be very effective for what, and many of you have seen his hollow forms. He does a very good job of it. So it works very well for him.
He sure does.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, everything they turned was green. So everything turned so easy. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with me that my turning is such a struggle sometimes? Well, I turned dry wood. They were turning green wood.
Yeah, I go say, you need to see yours 6 months later and theirs 6 months later.
Good point. Spence, you probably love this because this is such a. I thought of you when I read this Rapin quote, and I think it's so appropriate. So form is primary.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We hear you twice.
Audio stuff going on.
Kill one of your microphones.
Yeah, I can do that. That's probably better. It's interesting watching all this stuff and having.
No, Spence, we still got you twice. We're seeing one. Your video is Spence, and then there's Walter's iPad.
How about now?
Yep.
Better.
You're good. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, perfect.
No.
He probably
You can't hear us. Right.
You almost counted him twice on the attendance.
Hey, good idea.
Hey, way to pad your numbers. Okay, everybody, sign in on 3 different devices.
Really in trouble if we have to do that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if he comes back on his iPad.
That's a shame. He was so clear speaking, but he didn't know.
Focus didn't quite make it on this one.
No, I didn't do too well on this, but Ken Allen, do you recognize the artist?
No, afraid I don't.
I was thinking you and I had talked about this. This is Theobald.
Oh, okay. Size is one thing, but
Yeah.
the pattern on there defied me. Is this all segmented?
Yes.
Yes.
All segmented.
Okay. I can see Kurt doing that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And, there's a little bit of Kohler in that is spectroply, and he cut his segments at an angle. So that's why, well, I shouldn't say he cut it at an extra angle. So he tilted the wood up, and that's why the lines are not straight, they're curved.
It also looks like the rings are of different thicknesses.
Correct.
As it gets to the top, they're narrower.
Yeah.
Or shorter.
Yeah. Not as thick.
The reason, for those who don't know, Kurt Theobald has been doing segmenting stuff, and he's got this technique down so well. He passes around a segmented piece like a small bowl or a box.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there it is, right there. And look at the scale of that tiny one. I don't know how he ever does that.
Yeah, if you all can
Real talent.
zoom in on your picture, and you can see his segments are are a 32nd to a 16th of an inch. It's incredible. So, when you're looking back at the previous picture, those white lines were segmented veneer. Did we lose Spence altogether?
No, he's there.
He's there, but I don't think he can hear us.
Uh,
Calling.
Somebody doing that, or shall I?
Rick, are you calling him?
Yeah, I'll call him.
Okay.
Thanks.
So here's an update. We've made it to the province of New Brunswick. The trip.
Spence, can you hear us? Oh, bummer.
This was an interesting piece of plum.
Hey, hi, Rick.
Hey, bud,
Oh,
can
there
you
we
hear us
go.
at all?
No, I cannot. And it's something to do with the program because my audio and my computer works fine. I just got offline and I went on to YouTube or something else. I've got lots of audio. I have no audio on my computer coming from that. I did on my iPad. That's why I had both of them on. But now I got off the iPad and it won't allow me back on. So I'm kind of screwed.
Did everybody hear Walt through my phone?
Yes,
We hear him through his.
we hear him through Zoom.
Oh,
We
they're
can
hearing
hear
you
him
through Zoom
He
now,
just can't
Walt.
hear us.
I'm
Yeah.
on the, let's see.
So, Rick, maybe put your phone next to your
I'm on the
speaker so he
program,
can
but
hear.
I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just don't have any audio by way of the computer. Everything
Tell him we
is
hear
working
him.
right.
Can you hear them now? Go ahead, somebody talk.
Yeah, I can hear
You-
you guys fine. And interestingly, my audio monitor on my computer is showing obviously that I get reception, but I get nothing out of my speakers for
Oh,
this program.
Uh,
So I don't know. I don't know what's
Spence,
going on.
click on the arrow on the speakers
Yeah.
and select your onboard speakers. You may be on a different speaker setting.
I've got the one I got selected is speakers, headphones. I just went onto YouTube and it works fine. So I don't know why there's a difference between the Zoom and YouTube.
Zoom
Well, how
has
did
its
you
own
hear-
individual selection.
how did you hear Bruce? Are you hearing it through the phone?
I have
Yeah.
my phone up against my speakers.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you're
Well,
fine.
let's just keep going then.
Okay. I'll leave it
All right,
on
let's
that
go.
way.
Yeah, Bruce, can you go back to that Raffin quote? Because I'd like to hear Spence respond to that. There you go.
Oh, thank you. I started to say, I've watched these laser hollowing things for probably the last 15 years, and my opinion of them is ambivalent. I've tried them. I find doing it by hand just as convenient and factly more enjoyable than using a laser.
What do you think of this quote by Raffin?
I love it.
I thought
I
you would.
absolutely love it. I see it happening.
Cool. Okay.
So
This is one he
plump.
turned and there was a knot in the stem and it started to crack. So he turned it smaller so it salvage the piece.
So this was a live turning you saw?
Yes.
Oh, what was that one called?
I think it was just Natural Edge.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Again, I wish I'd thought of that.
There's the Motley Crew. There's my picture of that one. This is a flat top, rounded bottom
Was that the
vessel.
Rudy one?
No,
It may have been.
it can't be because Rudy was in the hall for all of his demos. That's not the hall.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I don't remember who that is.
No, I think that was the same person who did that one.
Oh,
It
okay.
looks like the
Till-
same picture.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, just different. Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
no, yeah, because he did the same thing. Look at the background. It's
yeah.
Yep,
It's-
same thing.
it's the same Turner.
Tilden.
Yeah.
I've now wrapped around.
Oh, okay.
So how about some comments about the overall impression of this particular symposium? How did you feel
Well,
it worked?
I think there's another comment I would like to make, and I think I even made this at Heidi's demo recently, was if there was one thing I saw consistent among all the Turners was how they move their bodies. Every single one of them anchored the tool against their body and moved their body rather than their arms. And it was just amazing to see the control they had.
Yeah. The other thing that I noticed on this one, and they even made the comment that they had from the previous symposium, they had got comments from the people that there wasn't enough basic turning. And they talked more about a lot of the basic turning, basic tool handling, etc., to achieve what they had.
The other thing I brought out of it is how many of us move our headstock down so we can turn off the
Yeah.
end of our lathe.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I came home from that and moved my headstock down and found it so much easier to stand at the foot of the lathe and just, like we said, they move their body. Well, it's when you're going into a bowl, it's very hard to move your body because the tool is out over the ways of the lathe. When you move it down towards the end, it makes it a lot easier because you can move your body and work it that way. So I moved mine when I came home and found it worked quite well.
So you're saying, Rick, that you've moved it toward the tailstock end?
I did, yes. And then you stand at the tailstock end, put your banjo down almost to the end of the lathe, and it makes it a lot easier to work.
Touching on what Chuck said, we've all been taught ABCs, but a few years back, somebody else said, no, you need ABCDs: anchor, bevel, cut, dance. And what you're describing is the dance, the Woodturners dance, where you're really using your body for the movement, not your arms and hands. You're using your whole body, and it seems to make it a lot more stable. So I think that's what you're talking about, isn't it, Chuck?
Yes, absolutely, Ken. And actually, at Heidi's Tuesday demo, Mark made an interesting suggestion to Dean that it should be after A, there should be H, and that's for heel. So don't try to get the bevel perfectly flat onto your surface, get the heel of the tool, then rotate to the bevel, then cut. So I thought it was kind of interesting to add that little extra step in there. Because sometimes, you try to put the bevel on and all of a sudden you're cutting and you didn't want to be.
You're right, Chuck. I learned that from Kent Weekly on Turner Wood Bowl
Oh, yeah.
YouTube. He inspired me to try it. Um, Watching that anchor heel bevel cut. So I was having so much trouble early on with a catch. Every time I put my bowl gouge in there, catch, catch, catch. And then I watched his video and he explained, he showed putting the bowl gouge on the inside of the bowl there. And he actually demonstrated the catch, and he said, look at this, how I put the heel of the gouge on first and then just slowly rotate it in until that cutting edge came in contact with the bowl and then ease into it. And so I took that information out to the workshop and I couldn't believe it. It was just, it was, the light bulb came on. I was like, wow, all this time I've been just struggling with that. So um, I've told so many people about it, try it. Just put that heel in first and then just ease into it. It was, again, the light bulb came on. So anyway, if somebody's having trouble with it, just uh, give it a shot.
The other thing was
Could he be a
interesting, Rudy mentioned that if you're doing a scraping cut, kind of like a shear cut, if you can see the cut, you're going to get a catch. Roll the tool so that you can't see the cutting edge touch the wood. And then you just do a real nice shave across the surface.
I think Kent Wheatley would be a good one to have do an IRD, but you can almost get everything that he's going to teach right online.
All right.
I think going along with what Gary was saying about everybody talking about the basics, I mean, they not only mentioned it, but they practiced it as well, from the fact of don't stand in the way when you turn the lathe on, because if it's not mounted correctly or whatever, to the fact of, like you said, moving the body back and forth, just all the way back to the very basics that we learned in 101. I thought every instructor there, every demonstrator there was exactly like that. I thought it was very good.
Something else, probably one of my favorite sessions, and I think I even marked it down as my favorite session, was Theobald's Elements of Design.
Yeah.
Where he did zero turning. All he did was just trying to make us more aware of design in nature, design in architecture, design in art, that we just need to become more aware and to help us come up with better designs for our art. And I think there was one other thing, and Rick, you and I could mention this together. We attended a session by Theobald on alabaster turning, and within the first 5 minutes, Rick and I looked at each other and said, well, that's something we'll never do.
For sure.
Oh, man.
You'll have to elaborate on that, Chuck. Why not?
Oh my God, you can't believe it, Ken. The mess that comes off of it. He had a completely different area where he turned the alabaster because there was so damn much mess and powder. And Chuck and I went up and saw a friend of Rogers who turned alabaster. And he said that they had a neighbor that came in and took a pile 4 feet high of the turnings from the rock to put in their garden. And there was still a lot of it on the floor.
And he
And
also said that if you're going to turn alabaster, the best place to do it is in somebody else's shop.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was gorgeous. What Theobald came up with was breathtakingly gorgeous. And the
What
stuff that
he used that
Peter
colored, he used that colored adhesive to glue those pieces together.
yeah,
So he
yeah.
came out with a colored stripe in the middle of it.
hmm Oh yeah, he laminated his alabaster and wood, and different colors of alabaster. And the gentleman in Chino is this Peter Heckel, was a friend of Phil Bird and Roger Harlow. He showed us some of the stuff that he made that was breathtakingly gorgeous, absolutely amazing. And if anybody wants some, he has plenty he wants to get rid of. But you're looking at using a whole different set of tools, a different lathe. If I did it, I would do it outside. You don't want to be in your shop doing it.
And your lathe needs to be lower because it beats the living daylights out of you.
Yeah,
And so you got to be down where you can hold the tool in a tighter grip.
right.
Personally,
Yeah.
I think wood is prettier when it's done.
Yes.
Oh, you're absolutely right, but it's just something different,
Yep.
but not for me.
Okay. That hour went quick. Anybody else got anything?
I think I'm going to drop off, guys.
I
Yeah, it's
think
dinner
we all are
time.
about to. Thanks for joining
Yeah,
us,
Rick,
Scott.
Yeah.
Rick, thanks for the audio.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome, Spence. I'm going to hang up now, okay?
A team effort.
Yeah, it's great.
Thanks, Bruce,
guys.
for hosting
Thanks,
it again.
Bruce.
Bruce,
Good to see y'all.
after this session, let's do a little troubleshooting.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll do.
Bruce, a question for you. Are you
Yes.
going to be here next? Are you going to be here next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday, I will be here.
Okay, then maybe the four of us can drive together.
What a concept.
Ooh.
That'll be the